snack. Me and you gonna have a little chat about books. Hi guys, so I am here today to do a book review, and the book that I'm going to be reviewing is Shades of Milk and Honey by Mary Robinette Kowal. This is the first one in the Glamourist Histories series, I believe, and I read this as a part of the #TBR takedown, and I really enjoyed this book. I didn't really know what I was getting into when I first picked this book up. It's very short, so I thought it would be quite easy to get to, but I didn't realise quite how prim and proper it was going to be. It's definitely got this Jane Eyre-esque feeling, because that is what Mary Robinette Kowal said she based the series on, was Jane Eyre, and it wasn't really something that I usually read. That tone of voice, that sort of upper class, very elitist, noble tone of voice and classical tone of voice wasn't usually something I read, but I found it really easy to get into anyway despite that, and I think it was very well written. It's a fairly classical story with a lot of elements of Jane Eyre. I've never read Jane Eyre, but I've seen the film and I think it definitely echoes elements of that. However, despite my usual disinterest in classics, or at least certain classics with this sort of tone of voice, I really enjoyed this, and I thought it was definitely surprising and interesting, and it had a lot of exciting elements to it. And it does have fantasy in it. It's not a classic, it is a fantasy book. It's set in Regency England, and it follows a young lady called Jane. She's known by her friends and family as the woman who is really highly skilled at glamour, which is the form of magic in this world. Basically, glamour means that you kind of touch the ether and you can pull out strands of the ether and you can weave these strands of magic into something or other. So you can weave it into a picture, or you can weave it into the folds of your dress or something like that to give you a little bit extra sparkle and extra glamour and extra flair. Really cool idea, definitely fits with the tone of voice of this book, like classical ideas. And although Jane has very artistic talent, she's actually kind of viewed a little bit as a spinster because she's getting on in years and she hasn't got any suitors. She practices glamour regularly to get her through the day. She doesn't have a suitor or someone courting her, so she loves to practice glamour and improve her skills, and she has a strong passion for glamour, which is not something that a lot of women have. Even though most people in nobility can use glamour, most people are not as skilled as she and not as good as she, despite being self-taught. However, when the Dunkirks end up moving in next door, she kind of gets a little bit distracted from her glamorous training and she begins to find a new source of entertainment. And there is potential for new friends and new romance and magic and mischief. I was a little bit worried when I went into this because I have read one short story by Kowal before, which was part of the Shadows Beneath anthology, and I enjoyed it, but I felt like it was underdeveloped, and this is quite short again, so I was a little worried that this might also be underdeveloped, but that certainly wasn't the case. I felt like it was a good story in and of itself, and it made sense, and it ended at a very suitable place. The story begins by easing us into it with getting to know the characters, and gradually we get hints at who they are, and we see more of their passions, and we get to understand their personalities more. Once we know their personalities, we then get the groundwork laid for the story and the plot and what's going on there. And I think it's one of those stories that definitely builds and the drama gets more and more exciting as it goes on. The magic of this world, although never really expressly explained, is still really interesting, and definitely I could visualise it really easily, and it was one of those sort of ideas that just was fascinating to me because I love art and it's very art focused. Basically, if you have the skill to make a weave of the magic, then you can display anything that you desire if you have the skill to do it. And it's a very highly revered skill, but actually few people have quite as much skill in it as Jane herself. As for the magic, I found I didn't really need an in-depth, expansive explanation of it because it was just fun. It was a light-hearted read. It was what I needed at the time because read-alongs can get a bit dense, and this one was light-hearted and easy to get through. And I found that it was just a lot of fun. There was a lot of magic that I could envision really easily. It was very intense and quite exciting, and there was a lot of drama. So on the whole, I really felt that this was good. Picture when she added these threads to her dress to make it more sparkly. I could picture when the furniture and the music was all kind of added to and enhanced with this magic. It was just such a cool idea. On the whole, it's definitely not epic fantasy, which is what I normally read, but it was a great change and a great change of pace from epic fantasy. It was a light-hearted read. I already have book 2 and 3 in the series, so I'm so excited to continue on with it, and I definitely will be doing that soon. It's really short, as I said, so very easy to fit into my schedule, which was good. and I really enjoyed it. I ended up giving this a 4.5 out of 5 stars, which is great because I wasn't expecting to even like it necessarily when I began it, and I ended up really being surprised by some of the things that unfolded and the way that the story continued, and yeah, I'm very excited to continue on. So happy to say that this was a really good book and I would highly recommend it. So I'd love to hear your thoughts if you guys have read it or heard about it. Let me know what you guys think, because I've never really seen this one around that often, so I'd love to know if you guys have read it. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you all very soon in another video. Bye! Me and you gonna have a little chat about the